Shift Nation, it is a very exciting day for us at the morning shift here, and for all our shifters to have our guest in studio, Ardie Savea. New signing to Moana Pasifika. Honoured and privileged to have you here, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I suppose I got to start with just obviously we'll get to the massive opportunity in a moment. This is, but I've also heard behind the scenes, and I guess even you being here, it's an incredible honour for us because team reached out and we're able to host this conversation. But also you're not doing too much other media. Like what's
yeah, it's obviously first of all it's an honour to be here. When I was obviously talking to the people around me on like the announcement and how we're going to announce it, I kind of took some time to think about it, and yeah, I just thought, like I wanted to come here with you boys because I trusted you guys and I knew you guys are for the people, but also being able to do media in a different way and control that narrative I thought was important, and to give, like I would say, like the minority a chance to step up and shine, I thought was important. So to be here today and then obviously later today to do something again that's different and special is it just warms my heart, and it's different, but I know in my heart it's the right thing.
Absolutely. I suppose before we talk about this massive signing and what we're kind of talking about today, I want to just start with how are you doing, Us? You just come back from leading the All Blacks haka in San Diego. You're flowing straight in. It's massive, but where are you at? How are you?
Also, I am content. I'm happy. My wife's just had her birthday, 30th birthday. She's in Rarotonga for girls. So seeing her enjoy herself and have a break from the kids, because parents do need a break, and to see my wife out over in Raro, happy, makes me happy, fills my heart, and to obviously come from San Diego and win over there and have a good week, and then come home and I guess just be free from rugby is nice. But obviously it's been actually nice just to release the news, because it's been a journey, it's been a process. But to be able to release it and then before this podcast see some people affirm me in my decision, got pretty emotional. So yeah, really content, man, really happy and grateful.
Absolutely. I just, how was it like leading that haka for the first time?
Man, straight up, that was the only thing I was thinking about and worried about was the haka. At the start of the weekend, I was like, I'll be all good. I do heaps. I was a couple haka leader at primary.
What primary? Shout out.
Newtown Primary School. Okay. Even Evans Bay, I was like, I've done the haka heaps. But slowly, come Friday or Thursday night before game, doing it in my room, and Mum was like, Sully, calm down. Just even like singing the national anthem, like,
because you got to warm up the voice, right?
Got to warm up the voice. I had my vocal coach just over here telling me what to do. But it was so special. I didn't realize how special it was until I was like probably 24 hours out from it.
But you're doing this while also knowing and that you're about to confirm what I think will be the biggest rugby story in a while, and the biggest rugby story we've had. And I know we talked a bit off air where you just before you uploaded, you're taking off. You upload it and you put your phone down. So you can't check it for 12 hours before you get back. What was it like sending that off and you being in control of the narrative, which I think is such an important point.
Yeah, I've always believed in it, but this one was even more special just because of the announcement and what decision I was making. And in terms of going to Moana. But yeah, shout out to my uso friends for helping me do the video. But yeah, just being able to like do that, press send, and then just like honestly put my phone down and listen to my worship and just reflect on the journey, my career so far. It's a huge blessing. Like people think I'm at the peak, but for me, I feel like I'm just getting started. So,
come on now.
I can't wait till what God's got in store for me for the future.
Do you remember our conversation? I did a tour with the All Blacks. I was helping out a production company, and we were on High Street having a coffee. And at that point, you were on the fringes of the team, and you just got a message from Shag, or maybe a coach, and it was kind of around like the idea of if you can't get to this weight, it's hard to see you in a team like the All Blacks.
Yeah.
You know, and you were doing what you were doing in Super. I always remember that because I was there, and it was, I remember looking at you, and it was like, man, they just got to let me be me. They just got to let me be me. And, you know, we're talking about 3, 4, 5 kgs here.
Yeah.
That, and then I think of like where we're at now, and you are the embodiment of a rugby player that when you're expressing yourself and you're allowed to be who you are, you're the best in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that was an amazing story. But, you know, how, I don't know what I'm asking here. I just remember that moment, and I remember thinking, you know, that could have gone on 2 ways here. You can go and process that information like, I can't be myself.
Yeah.
I got to go be someone else. And
Yeah.
has that been a theme for you in terms of your career and your journey now?
Yeah, like in my younger years, probably not until about probably when I really found my identity in Christ. And I think for me, like, I do remember that because I remember that particular year, after that year, I told my wife, I'm done. And I was just like 95% gone to France post 217. And it wasn't until I spoke to Jules and he said, you've got plenty of time to go over there. Like, just stick it out and stay. So in the off season, my wife just said to me, hun, just like, forget about everything, the politics, everything, and just go out there and enjoy it and just have fun. So that's what I did. I ended up doing that, and yeah, to 18 till now, like, it's been a huge blessing. And but I don't think I'd be here if it wasn't for those, you know, those trials.
Absolutely.
And those conversations, those hard conversations, because those allowed me to like actually reflect, have conversations, hard conversations, because I was being a bit like sorry for myself, and having Jules just go, bro, like, pick your lip up and keep going. You don't like it, but you need it. So yeah, I'm always grateful for those moments, even though in those times I'm not, because it teaches me to learn and to grow, and I'm thankful because I'm here now. But the point on what you said around just expressing yourself, I think that's a huge challenge still to this date for players, and I think mostly for our people, because we're loud, we're bright, we like to shine, and because it's a team environment, rugby is, and union, such a sport where it's all about the team, and I understand that, but I believe that within the team you should be able to express yourself as an individual, and
Absolutely.
I feel like sometimes that gets dimmed a bit, especially on our Pasifika brothers. So like I said, once I found my identity in Christ and who I actually was, and didn't really care about what other people thought of myself, because I knew who I was through the Lord, man, boy, you just walk with your chest up. And
I might go back to church on Sunday.
yeah, so, and that's where I've always been at. And every time I get to a point where I start believing people, or listening to people's opinions that are not good for me, I just go back to my word and try and pray, and then I get out of it, and then talk to people that are like-minded like myself, and I get affirmed again. So like, if I was to make this decision 4 years ago around this choice, I don't think I'd be able to.
Well, I think this is what I mean, and it's so good to hear your process. And you know, I think for a lot of people who maybe aren't faith-based, or they might want to hear like, but what's your extras that you do, and like, you know, what's your food program, and all of that stuff's important. But what you're talking about is me centering around a belief has helped me deal with all this pressure and heaviness. And I bring up that moment because I remember it, and it felt like a little bit despair. I remember sitting across from you, and I remember you looking at your phone, and I just think it's a beautiful moment to celebrate where you are now, bro. And that's why I think it's important that you talk about your faith, because I think we also don't give enough empathy sometimes to the players that want to be, which is a quote we hear a lot, for the people. Like, it's a cost. It comes at a cost.
Yeah, it does. I mean? It does. Like, I'm so grateful for Moana Pasifika, for like the love, the care they've shown, like not only myself, but what they could and would do for my family if I did move up in that process. Something that I'm kind of not used to, which is crazy because I've been in the game for many years. But then speaking to also Matt, it's just how our people are. We care. So like I really got to understand, and talking to Jules, I remember coming home while I was in the World Cup, and he just sent me a message when he was playing with Moana, and he's just like, "Oh, so you got to come. This environment's made for us." And knowing Jules, like he's such a like rugby brain. He just wants to go and like play rugby and win.
And you boys know the system. You know how.
Yeah,
it
we
goes,
know the
right?
system, and he was.
You're almost indoctrinated a little bit about how everything goes. You know.
And he wasn't really like into the culture stuff, like his background of Samoa heritage, and then hearing him say, "Kamus, this environment's made for us." I was like, "Damn, are you all good? Are you okay?" But like that just spoke for itself. So yeah, I'm really excited. But yeah, massive shout out to Moana.
Oh, I love that.
Can I ask a question? And Ardie, this is for me. I'm conscious that the story here is you giving back to the game, right? Like this is and to hear what you've just spoken about now, I completely understand. And it feels we're not in a too dissimilar journey in terms of what we're doing when we've gone from radio to where we are now, and how it's a different ethos, it's a different feeling, and there's a different response for what those are. But I do have a couple of questions, and I have to excuse Brook. Brook wanted to be here.
He wanted to be here. He had to
our big Hurricanes man. But
in Christchurch on this other thing he had to go to.
Yeah. So with what happened with Jules and the Hurricanes, how much did that influence your decision? And I'm not taking away from obviously what you've just said, but you've obviously talked with him a lot. He's told you about Moana Pasifika and how they are as a team and as a culture.
Yeah.
But how much did, I guess, the way Julian left the Hurricanes influence your decision?
How Jules left the Canes, like if you were to ask me when he did leave, and I had to make the decision 100%. But I think over time, that's Jules' story to tell. And like when I was coming up to my decision, it wasn't based on how Jules was treated at the Canes. It was kind of how I was treated, pretty much. And it just was reaffirmed because it happened to my brother as well. So, and I thought to myself, and I always said it for many years, that like I'd always be loyal to the players, but in terms of the franchises and the clubs, like it's a business. And when you're in a team, you know, you come up with themes around loyalty and one club man and all that stuff, which is awesome. But I've seen multiple times throughout the years where players want to stay, but the club don't want them, and which is like okay, like in the scheme of things now, I understand that's okay because it is a business. But just this narrative when you come in and, you know, loyalty to the club, I think that's all bollocks. I think you're loyal to the players and the team and the time that you're in. But I don't think what happened to Jules and how he left the Canes affected my decision. It was more so my own personal journey with the Hurricanes. Yeah, I think Jules was just a reaffirmation for me to be like, okay, it's happened to him, it's happening to me. I think God's trying to show me something to change or to think about another decision.
Can I ask you what you'll miss most about the Hurricanes franchise? Again, I know this is backward facing, and I know that the story needs to be forward facing, but what are some of the things you'll miss about being a Hurricane?
I think I'm going to miss the brothers that I've started my career with. I think that's the main thing that I'll miss is the boys that I built relationships with. I've went through the trenches with, like guys that I've kind of like, you know, had coffees with, and we've shared our journeys and helped them along the way. Safo, you know, Dupes, like, you know, it's just
you guys, and we see that bond. It does look real.
Yeah,
it does look
you know.
special.
So that's the one thing I miss about the Hurricanes is the brothers and our Carver sessions and the things that we talk about at Carver that connect us. So yeah, that's probably the main thing.
My final backward-looking question is, when you made the decision and the decision was in your heart, Did anyone reach out to you and try and convince you to stay with the Hurricanes?
There was a lot of people that wanted me not to go to Moana. In the journey of my process and making my decision. Let's just say, yeah, there was people that didn't want me to go.
For the right reasons, out of curiosity? Like when they were coming up with reasons for you to stay, did you feel like they were for wholesome reasons why you needed to stay at the Hurricanes, or were they more kind of politically based, or they more kind of you're taking something from us if you leave?
A bit of mix, brother. But I felt like I was sharing my heart and I wasn't getting heard. And when people tell me that you can't do something or it can't be achieved, that just makes me want to not only prove them wrong, but prove to myself and everyone else that believed in me that we were right. So I know this is going to be challenging and it's going to come with its trials, but man, like we say, nothing great comes with sacrifice and a bit of challenge. So I'm really excited for it too.
You mentioned the word sacrifice there, and I think it's important for all of us listening now, like, this never happens. Can we just take a moment to just like sit in this, as we never see these types of announcements happen, and the player is candid about the process. And I think I just want to respect that space in the Talanoa we're having right now, bro. And what I'm hearing is the things you're saying, what has been important to you is to align to your heart. You know, and that's if any media is going to be written right off the back of this, that's the title of the article.
100%.
Because they're not just rugby players. You're not just a rugby player. You know, you have a lineage, you have your culture, you have your faith. And I think media and people picking this up, and even fans, we need to think more layered and outside of what we deem to be, oh, he's leaving this or he's going here. This is the greatest rugby story since I can remember. This is the most awesome thing to be celebrated right now, and we couldn't be more happier, bro, and for you to share this space with us. I want to talk about that word sacrifice.
Yes.
And I want to start there because when you are negotiating and when you're doing all of this, it's not just you got to worry about, right? No. You got 3 kids now, bro. You've got a wife. You probably have things set up.
Yep.
You mentioned, and you've said this a few times in your presser too, I feel like my family was taken care of and they were thought about.
Yep.
And has that been a big influence into your decision? And
yeah. So throughout the journey, like I knew in my heart that Moana was the club, regardless of when people were saying, they're not sustainable, they don't have a home base, high performance. I knew in my heart they were the right club. The only thing that was going to hold me back was my family. And that's what I said when World Cup finished. I was set in stone. Hurricanes, sign with New Zealand. And the biggest thing, the reason why was because, like Hurricanes, I'm in Wellington. Train, go home, see my kids, see my family. And then everything unfolded, and then this decision came about, and I was like, damn, hun, like to my wife, are you guys going to move up? And it was the whole process of taking my 3 kids out of school.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge.
Coming up here, the uncertainty of like getting them into Auckland schools, kindercare, finding a house. My wife, like, I don't know, all the parents out there, shout out to the parents, like, when I'm at work, like, who's the support people around my wife with the kids? Because kids are crazy. They love them, but they, so like when she's stressed and she needs help and I'm at training, who's going to be there? Because at home, I've got her mum, my mum and dad, and like family to help. So all that was discussed, and my wife won't mind me sharing it, but like it caused a lot of like, stress for us. And like in my heart was like, go to Moana, but then my family. So it was just like this tug of war, and so that's why I say I spend a lot of quiet time, and came to conclusion around let's go to Moana, and then my wife can decide whether she can come and go. And in that whole process, I asked Moana, like, if my family stay in Wellington, what can you do? And boy, they just said,
like
they came and just said, we'll look after them, we'll look after you in whatever way you want. And I went back to them and I was like, oh, in these particular ways, can this happen? No arms, no, was yes, we got your back and we got your family's back. And that's what I meant, like, they really took care of my family.
That was the first time in your career, World Rugby Player 2023, where I've actually had a moment where I was like, oh my goodness, I actually feel that absolutely everything in that. Like if you're moving away and the wife and kids, like that is such a massive part of this whole thing, right? Like, and to be able to relate to that and go, wow, that's such a big decision. And it only happens when you start growing up, right? You get older, you start realizing where you fit in the world. It is such a massive decision to be made.
And when like going away to the All Blacks, like my daughter's at an age where she kind of understands. But my son, who's the second oldest, putting him to bed and he's just like,
what's going on?
He's like, Dad, why do you always have to go? Like as a father, you hear those words, you're like, damn. Like, you start to question, like, am I doing the right thing? Should I just have stayed but I'm so lucky to have a rock solid wife who believes in me and probably sacrificed a lot of her life to support me. So I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, that's how Moana's like really shown care and love for me. Is anything that I've asked around my family, they've just said yes. No arms, no like, oh, yes, we got you.
What I'm hearing is that didn't actually end up coming down to money so much as it was. Do you feel valued and appreciated?
Yeah, and I think it was at the very beginning of everything. Like it was about feeling valued, and that was one of the big indicators at the beginning. And that kind of allowed me to actually open my mind up because I was so set on going to the Canes, but around being valued. And I just assumed because of the year I had, which is a big learning, never assume in life. And I just assumed like, yo, I've earned this, right? Which is what I've heard my whole career around rugby, and that the elders was like, you got to earn the right. And now I've learned that after what kind of happened, that you've never earned the right. You got to keep going. And through that process, I learned, and it was all about feeling valued, which I probably didn't think. I may be wrong. I was, which kind of opened my mind to other options. And then that's when Moana came. And then I was able to just like sit, pray. I was in Fiji, talk to my wife, have quiet time in the sun. And then that's when things started to be more clear. And my heart, I just knew in my heart, Moana. And that was it. And I spoke to wise people around me, and they just said around doing the Lord's work, and we're doing it for the Lord's work, not for the people. So yeah, that was the process.
About to go to church right now.
Yeah,
come on now.
What is 2027? The season's been played. What is an achievement like for you? What do you want to have achieved with Moana Pasifika? What success look like for you?
Yeah, success is that Moana's in a better place, in a better position than when I first came in. And also, success for me is if one of the brothers at Moana came up to me and just said, or along the lines around, thank you for helping me in the journey, thank you for helping me with my rugby, that's a win for me. Like, I don't follow titles, I follow courage. And that's kind of the people around me that have always reminded me of, and I think that's the biggest thing around, like just having influence and impact in people's lives, and at the same time I've grown and learned.
That was a bar. Usually we would dap you up and be like, yo, that's a bar.
Double tap that.
we wanted the moment to sit. That is awesome. Don't follow titles. That's
I do want to, we are looking at achievement. I do want to, it'd be amiss of me to not ask some of the tough questions.
Yo, come on.
And I've already looked at a little bit of commentary on some mainstream media, and the thought is, devil's advocate, this is a risk to your All Black rugby, right? And I guess the thoughts around that is potentially how does a team like Moana provide an environment for you, and for you to have a losing season and still to be picked as the vice captain or to even be starting still.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. It's crazy you mention it because, that's kind of one of the biggest discussion points that I've had in my journey and my process was, is Moana a good enough club for me in terms of high performance? Like, will I come out of the Moana season being a better player or a player that's gone backwards? My heart and my belief is that, like, it doesn't matter what quality there is. The discipline and the standards within me. Like, been around the game. If I go there and think I'm going to relax, then I'm going to go backwards.
The results will show that, yeah.
But I'm going to go there and I'm going to try and push myself, push my teammates. They're going to push me. We're going to learn. And it's the discipline and the standards that I uphold within myself. And, who knows? Like, I can never tell the future. I might turn up and not be a good All Black. But I don't think it's because of Moana. It'll be mainly for myself. And that's been one of the biggest risks of signing with Moana, according to some people, is that I'm going to go there and not be as good as player if I come into the All Black season. But that's a great challenge, and it's something that ignites a fire in myself, and I just see it as a disrespect to the Moana Pasifika team. And for the brothers that are listening and the team, like, what an awesome motivation to hold, like, people, organizations telling me that I'm going to be a real soft player playing at Moana when I go into the All Blacks. Like, that just riles me up because it's doubting my people, it's doubting the players and the team.
Is that something you'll take personally?
100%. 100%. It's not about a game anymore. So it's about,
game of life.
Principle, and it's about life. So that's something that I'll hold and try and use. Like, not saying we will be successful. We might not. But to put us in a great position to try and win games, that's what I'm excited for.
And I think it's an important part of the interview because let's not like pretend that these things aren't gestured or said or suggested. Yeah. And so you going to Moana, if you're not solid in who you are and the vision you have for yourself, is a risk. Yeah. But you're willing to risk it.
Yeah. And there is risk of me going to Moana. Like, people that don't understand the contracts, Moana and NZ are different. So with me going to Moana, there's risk in my contract in New Zealand Rugby. And that's something that's been, me and my wife had to...
Even though that Moana still has up to 3 internationals that they can pick, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to share this. I don't know if it's allowed, but when Moana was first going to become a Super Rugby licensed team, they did a what if prototype example.
A case study.
The case study was on me if I went to Moana. But I don't think organisations and the people that did it thought that an All Black of the calibre that we are would go. Wow. But because it's happened, this side in our argument saying, look, we've done a case study on this. Like, you have agreed that 2 or 3 All Blacks are allowed to play for Moana, and there should be no disadvantage to that player if he does decide.
So the case study was done using you as an example. Yes. And it would have the data would have come back, or the research would have come back that it would have been something good.
That's the whole point of
and now that it's happened,
there's become that whole point around one as a risk in terms of my All Black career, which NZRU have to, like, there's no like degrading in them, but like they have to do what's best for their business too.
Exactly. And we hear that, chat. We hear you saying you're not salty. I just understand business.
I just understand business.
Exactly.
I'm a bit salty. Because I've served for a long time, and I just thought with what they've done in this whole process before Moana became a license, they agreed on. And it's like they've gone backwards on their word. But that's okay.
I feel like you've answered one of the other narratives that's hanging around as well, which is Moana Pasifika was a franchise built so that young Pasifika players could upskill in Super Rugby and then go on to play international rugby for the likes of Samoa and Tonga and what have you, right? But you've already answered that with the determination that you've said you're wanting to take into this season, because a lot of the idea behind having NZR contracted players playing for the squad was to help with that upskilling.
Yep.
And from that first speech, so anyone who still has that narrative, like you're taking a spot that, you know, off somebody who could be upskilling, what you've just said and what you've talked about where it comes to this is what's driving me this season. Yeah. I cannot wait to get into the locker room with the boys and really push myself and have them push me as well. Yeah. That's the answer to that narrative that's going around as well, right?
Yeah, I'm just not going there to like share like rugby stuff. I'm bringing my whole IP. I'm bringing my whole IP. You know, like I'm bringing off field. The lessons, you know, I've had to negotiate this contract by myself with my wife, with the help of like certain individuals in my team. So I understand the game. So like if there's any players there dealing with that kind of side of things, like my heart is to make sure they're okay and to help. So I'm bringing and that's what I want to. Like it's not for Ardie, it's not for me, but I know everything for me is for the glory of God. And I feel like if He can use me as a vessel, to help my brothers and help my sisters, then so be it. But I'm bringing my whole IP when I go to Moana, not just sharing the rugby side and the professional side, it's the other stuff too. And I think I've got this big care in my heart for people. And when people say I can't do things, that's been my whole life. People told me I was too small to be a flanker. My weight, you know, and it's about, you know, going there and just showing and this is bigger, man. This is for our people. It's for, you know, the Tongan community, the Samoan, all the Pacific Islanders. So for me, it goes deep, and it's nice to finally slowly come out of the system a little bit and go to somewhere where, like, you know,
let's go.
Yeah, you're allowed to dance in the gym and on the field. You're allowed to sing and you know, around the base and not get told off for it. Right.
And also just how is someone not of your stature and experience and IP not going to raise the game for those Pacifica players? So it's just amazing. But honestly, I didn't think you were going to talk this candidly.
Can I ask one more question then? This is an interesting one, and I don't want to get anyone into trouble here, so we can cut this out by all means. But you know how you went to Japan and you played?
Yep.
Colby, and your game didn't drop at all. Like you went over there, you were still him. You come back, you played another season there. You're one of the few people who can articulate probably how Japanese rugby could actually be installed here. And I ask this from selfish reasons because my young fella's over there playing.
Yep.
And the idea behind utilizing the Japanese passion, those big crowds, the money the revenue that's come through. Can you see a future where you are free to go and play a season in Japan and then come back and play like a Mighty Cup or whatever it is here, and then there's an All Black season? Could you see that working? Because you're an example of someone who's been there, done that, and how it affected your body and how it affected you.
I think like we have to consider it. You know, you've probably got Richie Mo and Shannon over there, and heaps of Kiwis that are probably good enough to come here and play as well. But I feel like we have to consider it. Like it's not only people say it's good for the body, but actually the rugby's the rugby's quality. Like
it didn't feel like it was a break.
No way. You're working hard, mate. Like, you know, but you rock up there because in New Zealand you're so used to like the weeks being built up, you getting treated like royalty, like in terms of making sure he's okay. He's got to be the best. When you go to Japan, mate, you're playing and you're training with company workers, and if you know the Japanese, man, they don't complain. If the trainings are outrageous, like in New Zealand, you can go as leaders and go, mate, we need to change this. It's not good. Workload. Yeah, workload. Over there, they just train. So for me to go over there and just see that, it humbled me. Like I was just like, I've just got to not say anything and just do the work. So I've got a lot of respect for them around that. But I think, yeah, you go there, you're playing hard, the quality of rugby is good, but I think the biggest thing is like the mental unload you have when you're playing in Japan. You there, you train, you play, but after that, you don't have media coming up to you trying to get a clickbait story. The Japanese media are like, oh, we love you. Like, how are you finding Japan? Like, they just
Different culture of
different
media,
culture, and like they love you. You lose 4 games, they still love you. The fans love you. The way they like have the game experience, like they've got merch. They sell out in like 30 seconds. I think it's just the Japanese people of how much they love rugby and the sport. But I think it's just a mental unload that's so refreshing. You go there, you're able to do my onigiri social media stuff without being like feeling like you're getting judged. Yeah, so it's just that kind of that freedom.
Food's mean as well.
Food's beautiful,
Yeah.
and it's really cheap over there. And another big thing, my family and that loved it. So it was nice to go there and do something different, and then come back, and then get like, obviously, I hope my name was read in the All Blacks, and then just get ready for the test. I was nervous because I was like, damn, I haven't played Super. Like, usually I'm used to that, but like that was a good challenge for me these last 3 games to like hopefully show that I still got it, that like Japan wasn't just a holiday.
Just quickly on that social media stuff.
Yep.
I feel like we aren't empathetic of players in the modern era on how social media is affecting players, and I don't know if there's should there be compensation? Because what it feels like from as a fans is that because players have a fear that there'll be a clickbait story or their words will be taken out of context, and they're on social media, like it feels like players don't want to say nothing. And so we feel like as fans, I feel like there's a disconnection. That's why I love this story. You go to Moana, like it's a connection story. It's a connection piece. But I also think that the game needs to consider social media and players, like, because I know that, I don't know if it's in the contracts, but I know that there is an expectation for players to be on social media. It's not something you can just completely say nah necessarily.
Yeah.
But have you, what I mean by that is you've come from an era where there wasn't so much social media to how it is now. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm I'm an open book in that. Like I kind of understood that, like it was good to build a brand. The biggest challenge was being able to build a brand within a team environment, just because of like the whole thing is like, if you're playing good and you're posting, all good. If you're posting on social media and you're doing your thing and we're losing as a team, or your performance not that great, then it becomes a problem. Where I believe it's
Win or lose.
Yeah, win or lose, keep the same energy. And I think they're kind of seeing that now. There's been discussions around that, and like it's growing in that space. But I still believe, there's a lot of work to be done. Like we want to grow, but we don't want to. We want to grow, but like the box is just like that, and we need to start. We talk about it a lot, like being comfortable creating heroes in the game, creating villains. I think the Blues do it really well. Like,
we're the villains.
Yeah. But the Blues channels is a reflection of like some of the players in there. Like, Swags is like, he's chirpy, he's swaggy, he does his thing, Mamba, like, and the socials come across that way, but because it reflects the players. Whereas it's been so like stock standard, perfect picture type kind of thing.
Definitely.
But man, we're humans. Like imagine people want to connect. The only way to connect is if you're real. So.
That was the toughest video. Your announcement video, on the deck, like the way it screened out, like that was.
I was looking at the back mainly.
Wow.
Well, hey, that was France, and we filmed that in 10 minutes.
What?
10 minutes.
Wow.
Because Mamba was rushing us in the background, going, "Hurry up, I'm hungry."
Well, it looked like a full day shoot, so you must be aligned. You must be aligned. Also,
It's just France being a wizard.
Wow. Did anyone comment on it saying I'm coming too? Like, is you getting any any other players going? Yeah, we'll join.
Hopefully, there hasn't been, but hopefully, it just kind of just plants the seed in minds that like, there is an option. Yeah.
Okay. Last question before we go. You move forward now to prepping with Moana after the All Black season, and you're in the tunnel and you're with your brother. You have your Moana shirt on. What's probably going through your head at that point, and what do you want to?
Like when I think of Moana and standing with Jules and that, I just think of like my grandparents, my parents, like the sacrifices, the challenges, and the prayers that they've done for us to be able to succeed. Because as parents, you know, all we want is our kids to live a better life. So I'll probably be there and just being real thankful for them. Just because I think being with Moana is a sign of representing my Samoa culture and the Pacific Islands. So, and to be able to do that with my brother, like, you know, I started with him, and I get to, you know, like end it with him too. So that's pretty special. So yeah, probably just be thinking about my parents, my Samoan side, and really connect with that.
Beautiful. This is the best story in rugby in a long time, and we can't wait to celebrate. And you might even find me in a Moana jersey this season.
Hey, can I say one more thing? Like, I just want to make I just want people to understand the care of Moana. So when I was going through this whole process, the CEO and Tana, they flew all the way down to Wellington on it's like 4 p.m. or 3 p.m. and asked if they wanted to meet for dinner that night. Booked the flight, flew down to Wellington, invited my wife. Usually those business chats around that, it never included my wife. Went for dinner, and we talked. They talked obviously around like the possibility of Moana and all that. T shared the rugby side. Sas was able to ask the hard questions and see my blind spots. But afterwards, the CEO brings a big box, and it's full of ulas, like Samoan, I don't know what you call it, like the X thing. X and culture, Moana jerseys. And I was blown away because that's never happened. I just wanted to share that because I feel like that's a normal thing in our culture. But for me, being
from the
system, like that's never happened. And just to be able to see that and be like, damn, like to have my wife here meeting the CEO and the coach, and to have her part of the journey, and for them to fly all the way down on like an hour notice, come to dinner, organize gifts, a box, boy, like that's something special. So I just wanted to share that and get that out there, because I feel like it's important, and it's a huge testament to where this Moana team has, and the belief Tana has for me and the club. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. Sorry.
Perfect. Thank you for the chat. Thank you for your honest words, bro. And you have all of our support, and we are so excited for this season.
Yeah. Thanks, Suso.
Let's
push! Yeah. All Blacks announcement, rugby championship. No Ardie.
hey, man, we're going to bring this back now.